from where should the student start?
See, I think one of the very common mistake which people make, right, or which any of the student make is that they don't focus on fundamentals. The idea here is that you should first know the fundamentals.
Like, tell me about a time that when something just completely broke, like low production and like 2 a.m. situation. So, what happened at that time and how did you handle that situation?
Okay, so yeah, I think it's very difficult, to pick up one,
Yes.
and a lot of them happen on a daily basis.
So, like, what's one of the most mistake that every beginner used to make? Like, you have been in this industry for a quite long time. So, what do you think? Like, what are the mistakes that most people do?
So people jump directly on the tools.
Okay.
As I said, that they don't talk about fundamentals, they don't clear the plan. It's
So, like आपने इतने DevOps के interview लिए होंगे. So, like, what are the top three things that immediately tells you that this candidate is not ready, or like, what are the red flags that you see within the first 5 minutes of?
So the very important thing is the fundament. As soon as we see that okay, people are not clear with the basics, they don't know how the deployment works, they are not well versed with the concepts and terminologies.
क्या AI DevOps इंजीनियर की जॉब खा जाएगा? Like genuinely कितना scared होना चाहिए like developers को?
Yeah. So right, correct. Like AI buzzword hai, right? And every one of us are worried because of AI. But I personally say, right, that you don't have to worry or you don't have to scared of AI.
Hello everyone, welcome to this podcast. Today we have Mr. Sachin Agrawal with us, a DevOps specialist. We welcome you here, sir.
Thank you, Bhumika.
So how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm also good. So, sir, like before diving into any technical aspect, I just want to ask you, like, who are you? Where do you come from? And how did you enter into this DevOps field?
Okay. So yeah, I'm Sachin Agarwal and I basically come from Lucknow, the city of Nawabs. But apart from that, like I live in Pune.
Okay.
And due to my work, so I live in Pune. Not only that, like I started like my career in 2015 with Virtusa. So from there, my this professional journey got started. Yeah.
Okay, so like how did you got into DevOps?
So I think I started my career as a the support, networking in the and the operation support engineer into the telecom domain. Now, as I was progressing towards the career, I started learning automations. Now, I would say that automation was now the very start for my career because that was the area from where I started learning DevOps, from where my first introduction to DevOps has happened. And then when I moved to the next company and the other, from there my real DevOps journeys has started.
Okay, so like, sir, honestly, like when I look into the DevOps, there are so many options like Kubernetes, check-ins, and Terraforms. So, like, what do you think? Like, from where should the student start first?
See, I think one of the very common mistake which people make, right, or which any of the student make is that they don't focus on fundamentals. The idea here is that you should first know the fundamentals. DevOps, people just confuse between the tools, between the different kind of a pipeline, the code or which coding languages we have to do. So to start with, right, with the fundamentals is important. That is like Linux, Unix, networking. These are the very important skills. Until you don't start and don't focus on that, right, until you make your base stronger, then you move on to the other things like Git, Docker, or whatsoever the tools are there.
Okay. So like most people thinks like DevOps is all about like pipelines and tools, but you have been doing this for a while. So like what is the part that nobody really knows about DevOps, like most of the people miss?
So one of the very important thing in DevOps, which I feel a lot of people don't even talk about, and which exactly even the DevOps definition also talk about, is the communication and the collaboration. DevOps is a culture. Okay, DevOps is not a tool, it's not a technology. It's a mindset, it's a culture. When I say it's a culture, the culture is of what? It's about communication between the and collaboration between the two parties. That's where that word came in, right?
Okay.
Dev plus ops,
Okay.
developers and operations. So to bridge the communication between that. So yes, so from this is the one of the key area which a lot of people miss, and we should focus on that before even going and learning on the tools or talking about the process and setting up the things there.
Okay, so sir, this is like my favorite question. Like, tell me about a time that when something just completely broke, like low production and like 2 a.m. situation. So, what happened at that time, and how did you handle that situation?
Okay, so yeah, I think it's very difficult, to pick up one,
Yes.
and it's a lot of them happen on a
Hmm.
daily basis. So yeah, I think like Kubernetes clusters, they sometimes get crashed due to some application issues or something. A lot of time this happens when something has gone into the production. I mean, like when some life changes or things has went into the production
Hmm.
systems. Now one of the very important example, if I have to pick, is that recently one of the changes which was being made by some of the developers, and it went into the core system and it got broke. Now when it got broke, so you have to basically go ahead and you have to look into that issue. You have to troubleshoot, debug, and then exactly find out what is the
Hmm.
things, and basically based on that you have to take an action. Now the important part is that which people always miss here is that they don't understand that how to roll back the changes. Because if you don't understand how to roll back the changes, right,
Hmm.
so it's not, deployment is always people talk about, they say okay, you have to do deployment, you have to do continuous deployment,
Hmm.
but you should know how to roll back, how to revert the changes in case of this 2 a.m. issues. So
Okay.
rollback is plan should be very well documented along with the deployment. I think that was my learning, and
Okay.
probably that should be the learning for everyone in the audience here.
Okay, so just imagine like someone is watching the video who is a fresher who is just continuously switching the jobs and who wants to get into DevOps. So, like, where would they actually start and how do you want them to start?
Okay, so as I said, right, that fundamentals is very important.
Hmm.
And when I talk about DevOps, the very first thing I would say is like, the Linux Unix. They should
Okay.
start with the Linux Unix and understand the networking skills. They should understand one of the programming language like Python, like Go or shell scripting, anything. So having a knowledge about these languages is very, very important.
Hmm.
And then move on to the tools like CI/CD, deployments, GitHub, right, or any other thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, what's one of the most mistake that every beginner used to make? Like, you have been in this industry for a quite long time. So, what do you think? Like, what are the mistake that most people do?
So people jump directly on the tools. As
Okay.
I said, that they don't talk about fundamentals, they don't clear the plan. It's like, when you are building a home, right?
Yeah.
Your foundation should be
Should
very
be, yes.
important, right? Or tools, they will come, they will go. Today there is another tool, a set of different.
Hmm.
It's important to understand the concepts. It's important to understand that why even we are doing DevOps, right? Or how the cloud and things will help you.
Okay. So it's like one more question is that everyone argues about AWS versus Azure versus GCP. Like for someone who's just starting their DevOps journey, does it actually matter like which cloud they learn first, or it's just a like overnight question?
So it, to be honest, it doesn't really matter, right, that
Okay.
which cloud you should learn on
Hmm.
or which cloud you should start with. I personally feel that all the cloud, right, AWS, Azure, GCP, they are equally important, or they
Hmm.
are useful for the different use cases and based on the customer requirement. But AWS being, a very good in demand, a good market leader,
Hmm.
it is always okay to start with AWS, right?
Hmm.
And then you can easily relate the fundamentals, the terminologies with
Hmm.
other cloud providers too. So, in short, yes, you can start with any of them of your choice.
Okay, so let us now start with the rapid fire question. You have to be a little quick. So, like, what is that one tool you cannot live without? One thing you wish someone has told you in the start, and like one thing about DevOps that still gets you excited even today. Fast, fast.
So, I'm very excited about that black screen, while working in the Linux terminal. So,
Okay.
that makes me feel like, oh, I'm working for NASA or something.
Okay. Okay. So, what is like before we wrap up, can we how can people find you and where should they go if they want to learn something from you and be a part of Skill Up with Sachin journey?
Okay. So, obviously you can look over me on the LinkedIn. Apart from that, we do have our YouTube channel name as a Skill Up with Sachin. I have some courses on Udemy, and also I have my own website name as skillupwithsachin.com. So probably, yep, I can drop the description in the description of the video, which can help the people there.
Okay, so like what kind of salary range someone can actually expect when they are just starting out in DevOps in India, and like what does it look like after 3 years, 3 years or 5 years of experience in DevOps?
Okay, so you're putting me on spot now. But if I have to give the salary range, right, I think like for the beginner level, when you start as a fresher, probably somewhere between 4 to 8 lakhs would be the range, for an engineer, for a DevOps to start. And then from there on, it keeps on growing based on your experience, based on your skills, all and the company and the market situation. A lot of things matter there. So based on that, it will keep on growing from like 8 to 12, 12 to 16, or so on.
Okay, so if you have to learn DevOps from the scratch today itself, so without any experience, no connection, nothing. So what would you do in the first 30 days?
Okay, so in the first 30 days, I would probably divide it into the week wise plan. I
Okay.
think like the 30 days is like 4 weeks. The first week I'll focus on the Linux, networking, and your Python, or these things, the fundamentals of the things, and understanding the terminologies. Week 2 I'll focus on GitHub. Week 3 I will talk about the Docker, Kubernetes, and the AWS and all these concepts. And the fourth week for that, I'll start about the deployment, right? And I'll do some projects. So probably if in 30 days I need to learn, I will divide this into this 4 week intensive program.
ओके सो सर लाइक आपने इतने डेवॉप्स के इंटरव्यू लिए होंगे सो लाइक व्हाट आर द टॉप थ्री थिंग्स दैट इमीडिएटली टेल्स यू दैट this candidate is not ready, or like what are the red flags that you see within the first 5 minutes of a candidate?
So the very important thing is the fundamentals. So as soon as we see that okay, people are not clear with the basics, they don't know how the deployment works, they are not well versed with the concepts and terminologies. The second one I would say is again, having not having a project exposure. So those two are definitely the red flags, which basically tells you that if you want to hire or if you want to go with or not.
Okay. So, sir, like this is one of the major question like most people want to get answers. Like क्या AI DevOps engineer की job खा जाएगा? Like genuinely कितना scared होना चाहिए like developers को?
Yeah. So right, correct. Like AI buzzword hai, right? And every one of us are worried because of AI. But I personally say, right, that you don't have to worry or you don't have to scared of AI. Means like AI will not replace you, right? Rather, if you will not study AI, if you don't learn AI, or if you don't go with the pace, right, with the AI, so you basically, if you have to replace with AI. I'll give you a very quick example. The technology world will keep on changing, right? You take the like if you take go back 10 years before also, there were like C++, right? And then .com world came in. Then you have a cloud world, right? The on-premises server things that like it's not went away completely, but again it's not a booming thing which what it used to be earlier. Then you have like DevOps and all these things came in, and now is the AI. So this means that the trend will keep on changing. So what we have to do is that we have to keep ourselves ahead with that trend, and we have to learn that and ensure that how we can use AI in our DevOps use cases or any of the domain wherever we are working.
Okay. So like before we wrap up, so this is my last question. अगर 5 साल पहले वाले सचिन को अगर आपको एक भी चीज बोलने का मौका बोलता होता तो लाइक व्हाट वुड इट बी?
I would say ki very general, and which I have learned from my mentors and definitely some of the people I follow, is ki be honest with yourself.
True.
And keep working, like don't give any excuses, right? Keep working, keep doing efforts, and the very important thing is to be honest with yourself.
Okay. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, sir, for
Thank
joining
you.
us here for this podcast. Like in the camera, like, share, and comment.
Like, share, and subscribe.